Welcome back. We're here to do the energy update plus the bonus super chats as promised. I was going to start adding some super chats. It has been a bit of time and we're going to wait for everyone to directly enter the room and then we will commence. Welcome back. Yes, we are going to get started very soon. So if you do want to get your super chats in, put them in now. Welcome back. We are ready to do the super chats. We do have the list. For those of you that don't know, I'm your host, Yildiz from Yildiz Readings. I will open up if there is any more that want to be added, but we are going to get into the update. And basically, yes, we are feeling it. And this is, I have warned a lot of you for a long time, actually, based on this. Basically, from a spiritual, economical point of view, what you really needed to be ready for. Yes, don't worry, I will be on screen. So we're going to briefly have a look over that to get us in the mindset. I will have slides in future that we can directly go through that are going to cover the aspects of everything that is happening. Okay, so we've got 10 minutes. So the slides, the PDFs, the dates, all the rest of it, they will be actually for future videos going into 2026. They will be displayed on screen. And that way you can get a context of it. I'm also going to start developing some PDFs, especially for any of the webinars and the events that I start hosting, both in Sage Inner Circle Network. You guys will get blogs and downloadables and directly on the website. I have started the back end of preparing for 2026, both from a spiritual, psychological, and a lot of you, this is something that you're going to be going through. And the ironic thing is a lot of these placements that we have in astrology have linked back from 2020. And we do feel this year, this was going to be a challenging year, because we had the North Node in Pisces. It's very psychological. For me personally and for the group individuals that have followed me for a long time, around 17, 18, we had Chiron in Pisces. And already then I started really diving into the astrology, trying to work out where that ascension wave was coming from. And most recently, I have had a lot of people actually coming towards me, just in general life when I'm out in public, and asking me questions to do with astrology, transit, spirituality, psychic energy, and how, and all of us can actually learn something from each other. But it's also that support system that we're going to directly need moving into 2026 and beyond. These are changing times, and because, the strange thing is you directly could look at this correlating energy in November as share frustration. Why do we have share frustration? More than likely because as planets have shifted into zodiac signs, which is going to be their hosting placements for a while, they've then dipped back into the previous zodiac sign. So from a psychological point of view, we're feeling as though nothing's changing. It's all the same, but yet we can see in the collective that everything is changing. So it can be very psychological. And, what are the North Node and the South Node trying to do with us since October? Because we had some eclipses, September rather. So we had the eclipses. We're moving forward October. Trying to move ahead, and each time we go to move forward, we're going backwards. So why is that important? Is because some of us can be actually returning to past things with a better understanding, a better comprehension. These transits can be beneficial if we can navigate them personally. Now, one thing I did notice was upon going to other, because when I'm working and I'm getting my personal content ready, editing the website, editing the Members Hub, getting things set in order for 2026, which is something that you guys are going to be doing, but it can be more in a very personal way. It could be getting your home in order, getting your finances in order. It might be looking at different things that had broken and you're needing to repair and you're needing to do those things. We can directly look at the correlating energy of the astrology where that directly is happening with you guys. These can be things to do with your relationships. It could be things to do with, I'll chuck the chart up on screen so we can all see. These can be things to do with, your personal direction, your aspirations, the Neptunian energy, your direct dreams. So those that have the hosted star signs, planets, etc., going on in your zodiac sign, yes, it's going to be more impactful because you directly could be the way shows. It could be quite significant, something significant depending on the placement that it is in for you. It can be very testing in the month of November. Now, it doesn't mean to say that testing frequency is going to be something that I can't say not a permanency because it is, but you're going to be working through these things. A lot of these placements where we've had direct retrogrades and they've moved between two signs, they're showing up in the future astrology. So one thing I can say is the axis of Sagittarius and Scorpio, we are going to be having a Venus retrograde and it is going to be in that area. So pay attention to as Venus ingresses into Scorpio. Already a lot of you can be getting symptoms energetically of it. And so what can that be about? An ending of something. You're wanting something to end. Going deeper into it, how does that make you feel? Tax debt, legacies, inheritances, things hidden. This can be a time, and I have said this for a while, that we are going to have a lot of cold cases cracked. We have the axis of, and you just Google it in each month when you see the transits. Mercury can be stumbling across information. It can be having to rework our social media accounts. It's Sagittarius and it's moving into Scorpio. Fees associated to it, going into your bookkeeping. Not all of you are YouTubers, but you're doing something in your life that you're directly having these things apply. We are going to have a lot more entrepreneurs moving forward as well. And it can be for some of you that you are actually working two jobs and you've got your foot on one sort of like lily pad, Chiron and Aries, and you've got one foot over the other side and you're trying to get this balance going on, or it could be that some of you directly are thinking about that. Because we do know that transits of unpredictability are going to come from the axis of Gemini and Aquarius, it's about actually moving into an acceptance of that, but also trying to find ways that you can be fluid in the energy and be present and gain some beauty from it, because you're going to gain something from this. You could look at it as, we are looking at a building and it's no longer functioning. And so we're looking in at that and we're saying, okay, this needs to come down because this is not working. And so anyone who's lived through a renovation can put their hand up and say, never want to do that again. So we directly are rebuilding society. It's not even on a theoretical. It is, we are rebuilding society. We are living through a rebuild of society. We can be very scared about what that's going to look like, but we do have a part in it. So the good thing is that our energy, our input, our frequency, our attitudes are going to be supporting energies around us. And so those that are acutely aware of spirituality, energy, it's not about really projecting that onto other people, but it's about allowing them to hold their space through their transition, because we do have the North Node in Pisces. So you may find that there are people that are quite toxic at the moment, and that they can be very so I explained this to my twin this morning, especially because I had a circumstance at a shop when I had to go to the shop yesterday. And there was a lot of projection. And so why does that projection come through? When we are, and you'll see it, it's almost like the left and the right. Why do we get that? It's because sometimes with these planets going retrograde and direct, what we're directly experiencing is bitterness. And so with that 12th house energy of our psychology and the South Node of Virgo, criticizing it and going, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's not that it can't be changed. It's that we can't go back to yesterday, but we can change it today. And so when we're going through that psychological experience, we are either too far in the future or we're too far in the past, and we're in the here and now bitter about a circumstance that we're directly dealing with, which I think we all can put our hands up and say that. Some have better coping tools because they've gone through this over and over again. And yes, we can note that that is extremely frustrating, but that adversity has set you up to be able to handle the things that are coming, because it means that you can be sort of like in the individual in the Hermit card in Tarot, who is that light, who is that person that goes, I can actually see myself in that person where I was way back when. And so for a pocket group of people, they are going to be dealing with this with multiple energies around them, where we're looking at those energies, and we could be, you could be frustrated. You could be like, look, you may have learned a karmic lesson in a sense that you touched the stove, you burnt your hand, and you're like, I'm not going to not touch the stove. I'm just going to put a glove on when I touch it, or grab a tea towel or something. You're going to find a way around the obstacle. Now, there is no way but through at this point, and we can have some good days moving into the month. We are going to have Uranus shifting again. So we'll quickly discuss some of those transitions we're having. Today is a pretty intense day. I feel a lot of the home vibration subjects coming up to do with restrictions that we're having, or it could be that subjects to do with mother can be coming up. I can say that, but subjects to do with our inner emotions, our home vibration, and maybe needing to do repairs, but maybe finding that we need to address something quite quickly. We also could be taking steps towards our hopes, dreams, and aspirations. But we also could be directly very, very assertive. Now, there's a healthy way of being assertive, and there is a toxic way. And we do need to be careful, because, people are at different levels. If we could observe it from this point of view, in our sense of communication and frustration, because what's Mercury retrograde? It's going back over old crap. It's getting that black book out, especially in the axis of where it's going to be with Scorpio. You did, it's like getting that book and going back to 1773 and going, you did this way back when. It's like, that's not really going to serve anything. It's okay, grab that information of what you're frustrated about, take a deep breath and go, how can I articulate this? And sometimes it is about timing. I don't, even though astrologers, intuitive astrologers, energy healers can say, don't do this, you should be wary about where Mars is. One thing I can say is, With the Scorpio axis, be aware of your safety. So that can be in physical, locations. It could be being aware of what's hidden, not to be as trusting in general, and to really just concern and sit there and say, okay, I need to unpack this. It might need to be quick that we actually have to make decisions. But you tend to find you need to be careful with certain things. So what can that be? Okay, what can I say on YouTube and what can't I? And this is why the Members Hub's good, not because we won't say things in a very ethical way, but we may be able to discuss them in a different format than potentially we can here. So being intimate with a person, you will need to take extra precautions around this time. You also should look at the use-by dates of food, and if you can avoid getting takeout at this point, I probably would. There's always those tests we directly can go through, which is the feel of the food, the smell of the food, the taste of the food, and if all else fails, just avoid. Being careful how you're storing your food. Yes, we could have power outages, we could have earthquakes, we could have things to that degree. So having your resources on hand. Expecting delays, because the other thing is there could be, when we're purchasing something, for instance, in the 8th house, it could be that we think we're buying something at a set fee, but it ends up being something else. So pause and take the time to read the fine print. You could be going back also over your records of your statements. It could be looking at how do you use your money? How do you directly create some sense of stability? It could be something over here, it could be something over there, but it's taking the gradual steps on the paddy to create that structure. Yes, there can be difficulties, but there also can be solutions. So I'd say be careful of walking down dark alleys. It's like, trust your instincts and your gut. You also could be really dealing with some old situations. You could be looking at, okay, what do I need? What do I not need? This can be a time that you are creating these resources, okay? So the dates that we need to be aware of, I would say the 7th could be one of them. And we're going to go into the reasons why. The 5th, number one, is we are going to be having a full moon in Taurus. That's going to be at 13 degrees. The second lunation is going to be a new moon in Scorpio at 28 degrees, the critical degree. Now, Mercury at the moment has been already introducing us to the shadow phase. And a lot of us, especially from this YouTube channel I visited, they directly were talking about the fact that they were already experiencing a lot of what is coming in. And yes, you can actually have that. That doesn't mean to say that within the first week of its retrograde that it's not going to cause some chaos. So there could be some chaos with that. That can be with planes, trains, large vehicles, social media, space, religion, marriages, litigation. Those are some of the subjects that can come up. It's directly going to be more personal when you look inside your chart. This can also be universities, and it could be voting, rules and laws, maybe taking you back, especially for those of you in America. If you're voting or doing anything like that, you could be going back to that time when things weren't pear-shaped and reviewing it and looking at new systems. But Mercury is going retrograde, so we can be going back over what we believed initially into what we now believe, with some exposures. There can be some exposures. There also can be some shake-ups with maybe agreements that we think are quite binding now, and they may not stay as binding. Now, that will more so go direct by the end of the month. It's not you can't do something. Yeah, you need to continue moving forward. Just be mindful that there could be some things that maybe you go back and tweak again after. That's what I would say. Some do need to go into contracts, regardless of the transits, due to situational shifts. I would say if you do find yourself in a circumstance where you're having to exit a situation, generally the stars align where there's an exit, there's an entry. So try and hold hope with that, is that if something is happening quite quickly, another door directly is opening for you simultaneously. So that can kind of help you actually understand the context of that. I directly was discussing this with a client the other day, and we were talking about the fact that, it's why is it some people go from one relationship into the other? Generally because that entry and exit point's there. Is it better to take the time to invest in yourself? Yes, because you find that you are in a catch-22 because you haven't directly unpacked your emotions. So it could be healthier, especially this year. This isn't necessarily the best year to start a brand new relationship. Now, that also could correlate to contracts, but it could be in your own life. If you're investing in yourself, that's a little bit different. Now, in the circumstance of connections, yes, it can be that some people from the past come back. It can be you're reviewing and going over old stories and old ground. Now, that's going to start coming through by the 9th. It's going to be station, and it's going to move into its retrograde. Venus moves into Scorpio on the 6th. That's where you do need to have that axis of caution, but I'd already start taking it now. And it's going to move back into Sagittarius, where it comes to the 30th. Now, there's a few things that I am actually having, which I'm developing at the moment, and we're going to move into that within the members. And that is to do with financial astrology. It's looking at what we can see with the transits. It's looking at some of the predictions, the cycles. I would really pay close attention to where things are going this month. Is because we will have eclipse that's happening very early next year. We're also going to have a Venus retrograde. It's going to be in this similar section. So some of these things, if unaddressed, are going to come back up again. So it's important to actually, it's almost like we do have a portal. We've got a portal. We're getting prepared. You know, we're frustrated. We're like, can we move forward? When are things going to settle down? We're going to go back over them, but this can be a good time to actually step back, get things done, get things in order, really checking in with yourself how you're responding to things. Sometimes an extreme response can be the catalyst to change. So if you had been in that analysis paralysis, should I, shouldn't I, is there a good time, is there a bad time? Sometimes there's no good time. Okay, so it's about honoring how you emotionally are, how you emotionally feel, what you want to do, where you want to go, and directly starting to take those steps to move forward. But I'd always trust your instincts with it. Now, we're going to chuck the list up on the screen for those of you if you don't know. And I'm going to read a couple of the comments. Hi, Angela. Found emotion that I was looking for. Yeah. So, yeah, look, transitions of careers are going to be happening. The way we invest, the way we trade, who we have alliances with, it's collective energy. You know, for traveling, there can be almost, this also could be visas. This could be changes of law that we actually see, you know, on the media coming through in the news. It can be particular countries. And again, if time permits, what I am going to do is do some lunation updates. I'm also trying to rebuild the website, working full time, and, you know, getting these things in order for the membership, for YouTube for next year. But having those things in mind, really knowing where these placements are for you, I would look at at the moment, I would look at the Pisces Virgo axis. I would look at, you know, where that is in your birth chart. Keep that in mind with the context of this. I would also then keep an eye on the Sagittarius Gemini axis, because we're going to have, you know, transitions with Uranus and Aquarius and Leo. But that's more so for the movement forward ahead into 2026, because these key subjects, especially on the axis of Aquarius, what could I say? There is a possibility of power outages, lightning, sudden changes from riches to rags, rags to riches. So ups and downs potentially in the stock market, but this is something that's going to be moving forward for a while. I can say that, especially with the transits at the moment. The other thing is your resources, your networks, your friendship groups, who you directly connect to, meeting with people that feel more in alignment to you, but direct changes with that nevertheless. Taurus also can be to do with food and agriculture, because we do have Jupiter retrograde and we do have the North Node in Pisces. Depending on, you know, what culture you are, what religion you are, what you celebrate by the end of the year, be it Thanksgiving or Christmas, it's about being cautious with your wealth, but getting things in order. And I have been saying that from the beginning of the year, to really start gradually. You know, sometimes it's just 1 or 2 items a week. It's putting it to the side. You could be doing that in very unique ways, depending on your personal finances and what works for you. It could be that you're thrift shopping, or you're trying to get your resources in order. You're looking at subscriptions and what you're connected to, and what you do and don't need, what are holding value and what isn't, and what you want to do with that. Anything relating right now. But definite tension. You're going to have to keep your cool. So what would I call this? Being the soldier. I feel we're going to need to be the soldier this month. I think we're going to need to be quite patient. If something is shifting, it was meant to be. It was a long time coming. But we could have some surprises, especially with the changes. And there can be some difficult things we're having to address. It could be that we're realising there's something we need to do before we have that change. And this could be in our personal life. It could be tweaking something. It might be paying something off. It might be creating a footing. And so we're met with sort of like, it's a catch-22. It can feel like a catch-22. It's like, if I do this, I get what I want, but I don't get this. So there's these kind of clashes at the moment, which does mean something needs to change. So by stepping back from the painting, more than likely, you can have that revelation. Now, if you have had some upheavals in the last 48 hours, I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't be surprised. That can be in your body. A lot of you can be quite tired and foggy and unmotivated. Almost, if you are connected into your intuition, you're more than likely formed a very healthy relationship to your instincts, your senses. And I spoke to my mother about this the other day, and I said, the crazy thing is we all directly have it, but we have way too much ego involved. So what tends to happen is we become too densely embedded in the 3D. And so we're in that hustle and bustle, and we're moving about. And sometimes the universe will come in and it will be like a wave coming over you. Your 6 senses are acute. So when you actually do lose one kind of ability, another sense comes online to actually enhance, a bit like that Chiron and Aries frequency. So within your senses, what you're going to find is taste, touch, smell, intuition, gut. I mean, the list goes on. Your 6th sense, if you are pausing, it's like it's a little bit like taking a drink of water and you're so dehydrated, it's almost like it feels like it's absorbing into your tongue. Okay? It will go through you. The emotion will go through you. We're having a detox. We're clearing out toxins, poisons, things that aren't like all the gunk. Would I suggest being careful at the moment with eating certain food groups? What could they be? Things that are off, use by dates, could be meat. Especially, you'll find when you have an imbalance on chakra, and I'd probably say keep the hydration up at this point. If you're needing to get something checked, this is a good time to do it before Mercury. But again, regardless, if you have to do something, it could be that something is being uncovered if you're getting a checkup, if you're actually going to a professional to actually get those things done. And getting your body in order so you can look at different ways you can do it with your abilities. So how would I describe that before we jump into the super charts? It could be something as simple as knowing your capacity and finding a workaround. Does that make sense? So if you're feeling very tired, having a bit of a break. Now, with the Mars, what I would say is the last warning. Okay, so you can be talking with Venus. You can be looking at shared resources. You can be looking at who's putting in, who's not. You also, from an emotional point of view, I want to pre-warn you, we can have a lot of codependency issues coming up. I directly have my chart lit up like a Christmas tree. So I'm like, okay, let's just get through this friggin' year. Let's just get through this year. So from the Venusian energy, it can be being careful loaning things out, okay? Because A, we're going to have Mercury there. B, we're going to be reworking, reconsidering, rethinking. We're going to have feelings of what others have done versus what we've done. Now, we can go into projectile. We can go into aggression and anger. We can have an increase in metals, an increase in value or a decrease, although the value I do think is going to be up and down. But keep an eye on that, because even when I notice Jupiter retrograde, we can actually have from the 11th some sudden sharp shifts where it does come to things in the housing, sudden shifts and reflection about overturning certain rules, laws, etc., because Jupiter is retrograding over that area, and it's going to be from November the 11th. Now, Saturn by the end of the month is going to go station direct, so the pressure's going to be on. We'll find that Saturn going direct can be a positive thing, because we're going to be able to build those structures back up. We're going to have the PDF. We're going to be like, right, after this, now we can have some sense of progression. The 8th, we have Uranus leaving Gemini, and it's moving back into Taurus. And so there is a potential during that time, I would say, it could be before, from here through to and past the 8th, a lot of wind, but potentials for changes with agriculture, money, banking, food, resources, trade, wealth, earthquakes. I told you this month was going to be hard. It doesn't mean to say all of you are going to feel it the same, but it is about changing a physical structure, what we value, what our resources are, where we're going. Okay, we're going to get into the super chats. How many of you have been renovating and getting into hobbies and trying to find things to earth hurts yourself? Because that's another way this also can play out, is when you're going to need to have moments through this month. You know, you could be going out in public and having a lot of issues, and then you could be coming back down and going, I really need to get anchored in. And so I am actually developing, and I'll show them on screen at the minute. And then we'll come back to my head if I can remember which slide it is. I'll show these at the end as well. I'm updating things on the website to offer you sort of like options to help you navigate your ascension, right? I'll turn the comments off so you can see the banner. So PDFs, education, e-learning, soul coaching. We're going to have different things, like this is one I'm developing at the moment, but there's going to be monthly meditations. They're going to give you care packages after the fact. Some of these components are going to be also on offer to the members, different style things, but they directly are going to be having, you know, the that I'll discuss that with them anyway, and we'll put it up. The network more than likely is going to open early, and that is going to be to the public. But I'll give you the exact date. But at the moment, the way you can directly get on it is by actually jumping on the website, signing up to it. I'm updating the email provider so I can actually send you great newsletters, which is another option that we are actually doing at the moment. So the links are directly below for the website. And we also have the Sage Inner Circle Network. We have a landing page for that. You can go to that. If any of the emails aren't working, you can PM the website. Give it 24 hours, because I am actually going with a different host for email at the moment. So yes, definitely we're going to be doing the meditation, these meditation and clearing packages. It is going to be where you actually have access to it during that month or during that cycle. I've had to push the first one in January forward a little bit. If I do have more time, I'll pull it back. But more than likely, the first one is really to set you up for the beginning of the year. So we'll go into a PDF for what's happening. We will go into a journaling prompt of what we need to release, how it directly impacts us, and then into the meditation energy. And after, what it's going to do is give you tips based on the transits of where it's going to hit you most, because each month that changes. And you're going to have the care package down to your chakras, your crystals, your diet and your nutrition, and what is actually going to help you. And we'll also have a breakout room where those that join that can actually discuss with each other and go into that. And we'll have something very similar in our members hub in a different way. It's going to be a different thing altogether, but we'll discuss that later. So we'll go back into this. If that's something you're wanting, you can jump onto the website and you can subscribe, download the app, and that way when these things start rolling out, you'll actually get a notification of that. I'm updating the landing page at the moment, so if it looks like things keep shifting, it's because I'm trying to get components to work. And I'm telling you, with already the shadow energy, it started last month, the shadow. I've been experiencing it. There's another lovely individual that has been experiencing it on YouTube as well. Okay, so I've got Cosmic Journey. Cleaning, organising, trying to get everything done. I'm like Penny Little, the sky's falling down, which my mother said to me, she goes, why are you doing so much? Because I've only got a couple of days to wait, love. And I think a lot of you can relate. So by no means am I stating I'm a victim. I'm a victim of my own choices in the past. But yeah, who of you have Scorpio in your chart? Are you excited about this? Are you like, oh, why does everything keep ending? I've noticed in your intuition, you know when something's going to happen, but you just don't let go. Or you listen to your intuition and you go, I better fix it before it breaks. Yeah, that's Scorpio. It's like, duh. Well, you knew it was coming and you did nothing about it. Sometimes we don't. And that's another thing. We're going to have power-related issues. Push, pull. What do we do? What do you got? What can I have? Who's right? Who's wrong? It's like, it's just not going to help. It's going to be a lot of energy wasted. But people that have hidden things for the shade, it's going to come out. I think we could have something to do with P. Diddy in the media, with the placement of Scorpio there. Man, I haven't checked, so you can tell me if it has happened already. I'll chuck the chat back up on the screen. So do we have Cosmic Journey in the house? Oh, you could be going, what the heck is going on? You could be up in your head about something at the moment, Cosmic Journey, okay? This also could be people around you. Your confidence level could pick up, but I'm feeling it's an observation. I'm feeling it's about maybe from a personal point of view, what you want to do to get that confidence back. This could be something personal going on with you, but it also could be that you are maybe observing people around you where their energy is starting to become a little bit off, okay? You may be thinking that, you know, it could be that some things do start flowing for you. You're having a realization of where you're wanting to go. You're having a realization of what you're wanting to achieve. And you're trying to move away from things that you just don't resonate with. And it could be that you've actually moved some situations around in your life because you felt they just simply weren't working. But I do feel that you're also being, this could be from an emotional, spiritual, a Venusian energy point of view. It's like what you're allowing in and what you're not. It's really changed. But it's like you're being careful about you. Something has changed you to be super cautious. This could be something you're meditating upon. Do I say something? I think you're going to respond in a different way. And I've definitely noticed that in the last 48 hours for me coming up. See the throat chakra is going. Whereby sometimes it's not a matter of don't say something. It's the way in which we say it. And I think it can be an important factor during the frustration of Mercury retrograde, where from a value sense, our honouring ourselves with who we are, it could be that we're needing to address something in a very tactical manner, but it is something that does need to be addressed. So it's something that we're going back to and we're needing to talk about. And I do think this is in the context of a connection and something that happened in the past, something personally that you're going over. You could be revisiting some of these things. It also could be previous marriage or, you know, a connection as per se, or what to stay with and what to go. You could be also feeling as though you're there for people, but they're not there for you. I just get a major conversation. I do get a very strong conversation. I don't think it's going to be nasty. I think it's about re-looking in at what your plans are. And I think a lot's changing. It could be that all of a sudden you're wanting to pluck feathers out and you're going in a different way. Because we've also got the King of Wands here. And you know, with where you're going, I don't think it's just one thing that's changing. I think it's multiple areas. You're trying to keep, it's almost like I'm being shown, it's almost like band-aids over, you know, bursting mains, but it's you're trying to hold something together while a transition is happening. And I think you're doing quite well at it. I do think what you're moving towards is a very solid, it feels like a solid connection. It feels like something that you're ushering into your world is going to be very stable, very structured, very supportive. So if you have been going through a hard time and you're wondering if that's going to change, I think the discussion and the foundation of it is what that's going to look like. And so once you get into a very cemented reality of what you're wanting, and you do go into these conversation pieces, addressing the shadow, addressing the dark, speaking your truth, I do get this sense that both energies here in the mix, and you in a personal level, this can be with parties involved, it might be with a career or some other areas, people in general, people you're dealing with. I think you guys are going to come to the same page by month's end. But it could be something quite major that is happening that at the end of it, you are going to be like full card and tarot. And you're going to jump in and you're going to go, okay, there is nothing in life is assured, but it is about actually choosing the direction in which we want to go towards, and then dealing with the analytics, the whatever those, you know, it could be you've got a flat road and then you've got you know, bush and scrub and you can't get through, and then you've got another flat road. So it's about, you know, accepting that and just going, this is the direction I want to go. But I do think this is a negotiation, and it's I don't think it's a negotiation. I think it's a discussion about what those things are, what the investments, what the connections, what the people are in your life, and how it's like you're the manager. I do think you may need to be cautious of the way you articulate it. But I think with your energy and how you've been showing up, this can be quite beneficial for you within your ascension process. What do I mean by that? I feel as though because you are quite self-aware, you're going to have a better outcome than maybe somebody who wasn't as self-aware. Does that make sense? So yes, big conversation. I do think the person that you are going to directly be dealing with, and I think they're kind of navigating me to a romantic conversation. I do think that's going to be received quite well. As to negotiations in other areas, I think you're going to be working it out and thinking about it, and this is where the energy stands today. And I don't think you're going to make any sudden moves unless you feel ultimately comfortable, but it's like you're mapping it out in the mind. I hope that helps. We have Tracy. How you doing, Tracy? How's all that Aries energy going? Is it good? Clearing, organising, and try. I love the kitchen, Dawn. You need to lay low. You got to lay low. The Gemini going retrograde. Tiring. Yeah, look, I think it's perfectly normal at this part in the game for us to get fired. I do think it's going to dissipate. My guides were telling me things are going to pick up and go very fast. I mean, again, you know, you look at Saturn being direct in Pisces and it's like the gates closed. It's very structured. It's very rigid. When it goes retrograde, what does it do? Depending on the zodiac sign, and Saturn being Pisces, it's almost like in the notion of the Neptunian energy, water, the floodgates come in. So I think each planet has its direct frequency, and I think it's important this month to pay attention to what that ends up being with Jupiter. So look to the subjects of home, look to the subjects of mother, your physical environment. You know, it could be, you know, paying debt down, for instance. wherever that Cancerian energy is for you in your birth chart, those subjects are going to come up, but it could be that there's more of that than usual. So it could expand it, it could slow it down, it could do the pole opposite. Pay attention, because that's going to be something quite key moving ahead. As to the frequency of fatigue, I think it's going to get busier. We have noticed some situations being slow, but you know, your zodiac sign has gone through a great deal of transformation. If you do need to rest, because the frequency moving into 2026 for your zodiac sign is going to be quite busy. So I think it's about just honoring and acknowledging what your body needs to do, and you know, moving in that direction of where we're going ahead. I think you're going to be more prepared for it. So just really honor the body. Let me have a look. Yeah, you might have felt that there was a lot of subjects for you, you know, in the 12th house, a lot of psychological aspects with Saturn there. You might have gone back over old ground. You might have started being a bit kinder with yourself. You can tend to find you can have some great wins here as well. You know, with the 12th house, it can be, with each house, there's a positive and a negative. It could be some wins. But it's also about, you know, it could be hidden enemies. You know, who do you trust? Who do you not? Sometimes that can be us, but it can be habits and patterns that we have. So meditation, I think, will work for you, but finding the time to do that, because you're going to find that if you're feeling you're very burnt out, you're just not going to see things as positive. And as to your home, you know, really looking at, you could be looking at where do you resonate with your home. Now, the big axis you will have with this retrograde, yeah, it's the 8th and the 9th house. So, look, it could be memories of a memory. It might be thinking of traveling. If you're traveling, you're going to have to go really slow. Wellness subjects, you know, caring for your wellness. Looking at codependency, or what people, you know, what people bring into the table, what people bring to the table. We also had, ironically enough, Juno retrograde in these positions. And so this is not our first rodeo. We've been looking at these things. So we're going to re-look back at them and decide, you know, in the context of it, where you directly stand, for instance. What have we got? Now, in general, do you want to look in general, or are you looking at a particular subject? You're still unpacking. I can't say you still are unpacking love versus player. Does that make sense? It's like, sometimes it is that you want to be fancy free. Other times it is that you know, you want the excitement, you want the rush, you want the connection, you want something to be inspired by. But you might have found that you've had nothing but responsibility, okay? So it's been a bit of a rundown. It's been a bit of a drag. It's been tiring. There's been a lot of maybe personal restructuring and personal review. You're looking for a brighter time, but you also, you could be also concerned about the Leo energy. Now, the Leo energy can be leaders. It could be leaders. It could be what's happening in the country. But this also can be maybe a correlating energy related to employment. There could be something you're worried about there. There could be a bugbear individual that is maybe toxic, and you're like, do I really want to deal with that any further? They're also saying be very careful to read your contracts and to know where you stand with things. If you are actually, you know, needing to really know where you stand to protect yourself. But reviewing, there's something of a review that is being shown to me that is coming up here. Is there something that you're dealing with in a conflicting sense? And again, I can't offer legal advice, but this is sort of like the card is kind of referring to or referencing. Is that maybe somebody you're looking in at that needs to go through a divorce, or yeah, it's like some paperwork, some professional kind of situation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the reference point of the crowning energy is kind of overshadowing the reading, like it's giving a reference point to it. It's kind of like you feel this person is not going to address that, but you know it's the problem and it's also the solution. I do think this person is actually going to go through a change of some description. Now, as to if this is to do with employment, it can be that there's going to be something that crops up quite unexpectedly, and that they are going to there is going to be a transition, maybe even in the industry you're in. They can be rules, guidelines, etc. There also could be somebody that is directly leaving that location, and something is coming towards you. But I think it's more a reference of you valuing yourself and knowing that no matter what, you are going to be okay. And it's about replenishing yourself. So if you need to have a break, and you know you what would I say? If you need to have a break and you're feeling that you're really run down, just really honoring that and not worrying about it, really getting to the core and knowing who you need to be. I do think you may have to go back over old ground with something. I'm noticing the Fool card, but it's to me, it's referencing remember who you are, remember what you're made of. I think some people actually have taken you for granted, and it could be, I don't know why they're showing me this, but it's almost like maybe there's been some naysayers around you and they haven't really appreciated kind of the value of what you brought to the table. But I think they're going to be really sorry and say it could be that you have to have a couple of days off. It's almost like the person, the energy's really honoring who you are when you're not there. They're like, what the hell? This person actually does quite a bit. Yeah. I do think there's you've also got this kind of dynamic where there are two individuals here that are quite interested in you. They're saying to be aware of this moving forward. Don't feel pressured to make a decision. Things are going to shift, things are going to change. Are you on the fence about a decision? Has there been something asked of you and you have to make a decision? Because your bottom row and your clarifier cards, they're kind of referencing the decision here. Okay, look, I'm just going to sum it up. There appears to be, there's two stages in your read. There's one, it's talking about work, some subjects going on, bit of tweaks and changes. Be aware of family and home. That can be something that can crop up, especially if there's a mother energy. You as a mother energy as well. Moving ahead, what they're saying to me is there are going to be two people here, and I kind of get with this card is just showing me two physical individuals, very passionate, fighting over you. Now, you may feel you need to make a judgment, but it's where it's almost like I'm hearing the term "may the best person win." Now they're asking a question of you. Now, this could be a worry, concern, but I do feel you're thinking this is never going to happen, especially with the outcome card over here. You don't see this coming, right? Now, this card is asking, if you could do anything, what would it be? The answer dwells in your heart, not in your mind. Because the mind's logical. It's like, well, the last time I touched the stove, I got burnt, right? But every use at the stove might be off. It might have got that sense of control, where you put it on and if a child touches it, it turns off. The answer dwells in the heart, not in the mind, because you can't lie to your heart. You're going, no, not I found myself there years ago. No, I'm not going to do this, and I'm driving towards the destination. Okay. The answer dwells in your heart, not in your mind. Find the heart, for the heart is the gateway to the soul. So you've got to honor your soul with what you're doing. Okay, that's your message. Now, as to adversity, I think you're going to be laying low. I think you want to lay low. I don't think you want any drama. There's a lack of motivation with certain things. There could be a little bit of depression. I'm not going to lie to you, but that is going to pass. So if you're kind of feeling in a frequency sense, this is the status quo, they're actually saying, no, it's not. Just go into the heart space. But, the head, the victim consciousness, when we're going through hard times, so very profound. But it's after the fact, after we move through that, we actually get some positivity, and then we've got that clarity of light. And they are saying, they're trying to tell you that this is going to shift. You don't need to fight. You could be feeling there's no winning. They're saying yes, but just go the path of least resistance, okay? I have been, and I'm taking it easy. Good girl. Love you, lady. Look after yourself. Things are going to go on the up and up. You just got to, you might need to eat some of the yellow food groups as well. You could find that. Let me look at your chakra. I'll look at the... have you been getting lower back pains? Anything through the throat? Yeah. Yeah, emotional eating is possible. I've been hitting that cookie jar. I'm telling you, Uranus moving back in. I'm already picking up on it, and I'm not happy about that. I like the cookie, but I don't usually get a sweet tooth. But as soon as we have a Taurus moving back into Uranus, I'm true heart. Do we have you in the house, my love? I swear I need my eyes tested. From that light, I get a vague eye. Yeah, that cookie jar. So from the kind of chart, what it does show is to be supporting the base, keeping your fluid and your hydration up. Could be a bit of a detox time. You could use jasper as well as citrine for detoxing, more so the citrine for that. And also on the mercury level, anything sort of like that's going to support the nervous system, for instance. But again, keeping yourself rested is going to aid, but also keeping things in your system to boost your immunity, for instance. But paying attention to your throat chakra, probably journaling for you would do really well. And you're not going to carry it then. But the recharge on the chakra point could be, needing to have home and family, confidence in the yellow chakra as well. General, what do we have for you? Oh, okay. In part of it, I'm going to be honest with you. You could feel that you are, in one way, really excited about the future. You could be looking at dreams, but it's going to fluctuate, okay? You're going to have moments of going, I damn sure know where I'm going. I know what's coming. I foresee the prophecy. And then there's going to be other moments where you feel very almost in the 3D, in despair, frustrated by blockages and delays. I would say try and roll with that, but no, any of these delays are going to be quite temporary. Very, very transformative, nevertheless, but you are moving towards your dreams, but you're trying to be patient with this, okay? This can also be something to do with, you know, the bigger picture. You could feel a big responsibility to make sure that everybody around you is okay. This could be coming from the Libra axis in your chart. It might be that you are feeling as though you're responsible for everyone, that you need to make sure that, okay, and it can be that you directly may have the ability to do that. So, you know, something that you're looking at to set up in your future. It may be that you don't see the rewards right away, and they're saying also don't panic. They're also referencing being a soldier, but standing the course and actually being patient. You're going to have to be quite patient with this. I'm hearing the term, it's not over till the fat lady sings. It's more a, you know, a term than a judgment. Okay, don't feel anyone from your past. I'm Kiwi. I'm bits and bobs. I was born in New Zealand. So we do have in the past, you know, if you were worried about anyone who was, you know, maybe jealous or had something in your past that were really impacting you, you don't worry about that, because I feel you're actually moving forward. Okay, in the heart space, you could feel that you are very, almost very confident about what you're wanting to do. But they're also saying to keep it humble. Don't keep your cards close to your chest. You are going to harvest your actual wealth coming through. Like, there is what you're putting your money into, what you're putting your energy into. Don't you love it when this happens? I always used to say, as an old YouTuber, this was always a compliment. And to think that they're actually helping my algorithm. But anywho, okay, so you could be worried, right? Auckland, New Zealand. Okay, so Angela, we have confusion and worry about what is going to transition. You could be worried about people around you. Maybe people are really doubting some of the things that you're wanting to achieve. Be confident in where you're going. Evidence will be shown later. Things that aren't manageable, if you need to rest, there could be something in a contract setting that you're having to address, but you also could be more open to actually discussing with your partner how you're feeling about certain things. Crocodile Dundee. Thanks, guys, for the entertainment. It's very funny. It's so entertaining. Anyway. Yeah, but we do have the actual super chats closed. We do have another one that's coming up. So keep an eye on that. That's actually linked on the next one. Okay, so positive things, but if you do need to actually put something down and you find that it's actually getting to a point where it's really getting on, you know, your goat, go ahead and actually deal with it. Okay. We'll take the comment off the screen. I can't be bothered to look at it. Next. So is there a direct question you had? Nothing directly you were worried about? As to anything to do with maybe mother, I think you could be a bit worried about that, but I do think you're going to have a bit more, not that I know of. You get a bit more dramas that you think are going to crop up, but I think it's more you're going to have clarity. No, I haven't banned you. Thank you. Feeling stressed. Yeah, it's part of the transits. You know what I mean? Yeah, I haven't gone live in a while, but I am actually going to go live more often as we move forward. Anyway, we'll chat in the members, Angela, and hopefully that helps. That too is going to pass. Dawn, we got yours up. So we've got Dawn, Research, Clue, Marie, and Leo next. We're getting there. Okay, what have we got coming up for you, Dawn? You do need to be cautious, Dawn, because part of the transits that are actually moving through at the moment, your axis, let's have a quick look at where it's going to be for you. In your own life, you may feel as though with Mercury retrograde, people around you, maybe even a connection, is acting a bit out of sort. I don't want you to get stressed by it. Sort of like laugh about it inside, but no, this too shall pass. It also can be a representation of something that is personally going on with them in their life. I would also be cautious with maybe logins, wealth, what you're doing, what you're getting into, and not getting too bored and actually using your wealth energy, how would I put it, willy-nilly. Does that make sense? It's like just being really cautious with it. As to a friend, there could be a situation maybe that crops up with a friend. Have a good night. What have we got? So for you, somebody can be quite flirtatious with you at the moment, but there also could be more a thought that a lot of people, I have a friend coming to stay in a few weeks. What date? So what date's that? The 11th. Have fun with that. Okay, dates, trains, planes, automobiles can be delayed. I would also just be, just try and be patient. Try and be patient, Dawn. You know, they may be having something change also. It could be a friend having something change in their relationship sector. Like, is there something personal going on with them at the minute? Yeah. How did I get that up there? Things have been feeling really good. They will, but we're moving into Mercury retrograde in your Venus house. And then it shifts. It's also going to be in the 11th house. It can be between, two different areas of your life. I talked to my sister about this because we were directly talking about placement. And she said in her star sign, subjects to the friends kept coming up. The thing is, we can look at particular houses, especially in the link to the 11th house. It might be aspirations. It could be dealing with groups. Group projects. revisioning them, reviewing them. It could be, you know, past times and things we do for other people. Maybe we've evolved and changed. The 11th house can also be wealth, in a sense. It can be your money and what is going on with that. All of my friends are going through something like, yeah, so it could be something in a relationship that they're directly going through. So in coming to you, they're going to unpack it psychologically. Just don't overburden yourself. And it could be that you need to be quite fluid. When traveling, be super careful, especially being that the transit is going to move between two locations for you. Knight of Coins, it could be that a love interest becomes quite jealous. I think there is a potential that this could be a nostalgic time. It doesn't have to be a negative time. I think it's all about in the approach that you are going to take going into this with this person, right? So if you can keep the kind of bias away, the judgment, the understanding of the astrology, you're actually going to be able to navigate it more effectively. Because I do feel in your heart you're moving into that high priestess energy, and just acknowledge if people are acting immaturely or there's small starts lead to big beginnings. Okay, so taking it slow, keeping it very balanced, I think is going to be the key, and having the grace with it. Because I do think at a foundation level, you don't need to let situations take you down. You can rise above it. And I think you're really moving into a very positive space, especially moving into 2026. There are going to be personal changes that you're moving through. So if you're kind of taking a moment for self, that's a good thing. But this also could be a time where you can see a lot of people around you and a dire need for it. So it could be something you're building. And I think there's a potential you could be building something so that you can be more helpful, so you can be more resourceful. The thing that you may find difficult moving ahead could be keeping your head in the A game when it comes to one subject. So this could be having great ideas, but too many of them, and then spreading yourself too fine, maybe getting bored with the circumstances and moving on to the next. So this also could talk about the fact that you know what is you. You know where you are going because you know what you like. Does that make sense? So becoming the more authentic version of yourself. It could be really incorporating a lot of your likes, a lot of your passions and your hobbies into one situation. And that's going to hold a lot more staying power than quick fixes. Does that make sense? You may become acutely aware of, I would say this is relating to your twin, a subject coming up with them that they're struggling with, but it's a bit like they're becoming more open in expressing what is troubling them in a circumstance without feeling judged. But I think they're just going to be opening up a lot more. Yes, I'm trying to stay balanced and I'm working on building a business that you are describing. Yeah. And I think when you can actually do that in that authenticity, and it's sort of linking to something you're very passionate about, it's going to have a lot more staying power. I think, Sagittarius directly went through this a while ago. So a lot of Sagittarians are going to be having this redirection. It's felt for them very frustrating as well, because a lot of their hopes, dreams, aspirations have been taken up maybe by karmic energies, by shadow work of the past to their childhood, ways in which they're having to look at life at the past to be able to get their bearings so they can be this new version of themselves moving forward. And so just holding space for the people around you that are going through these things. And I think it's more them than you. But then if you have that self-awareness, also then have the self-awareness if there's any projection that also is not about you. But, check in with it. You guys are asking you to check in with it. Not everyone is out to get you, they're saying. It's a matter of just deciphering between what is about you and getting to the root cause of it. Something's bringing it up because it's a perfect opportunity to actually dig in with it. And then, then we are the healing. We're always healing, but you're more coherent in your healing stage. Does that make sense? So they're wanting you to be prepared for that. They're saying they're also showing me almost like with this balance, it feels as though you're probably going to have an opportunity to see both parties. Now, what do I mean by that? Like your friend as well as TF, it's like there's going to be almost like these segments. When it comes to matters of the heart, there's no right or wrong. I told you, I still have that premonition in my head, Dawn. The more you're in alignment, the closer it comes. You don't need to pre-manifest it. It's already there in the ethers. It will come through. But the alignment for that opportunity to come in is about being in our lane. Okay, when it comes to matters of the heart, there is no right or wrong. Every choice you make expands your understanding of life and love. And I think it's about also forgiving yourself for what you did not know. We know not what we do. And knowing the stage in your path you're at, because now you can actually deal with that circumstance a lot better because of the lesson you actually learned. And sometimes I feel in order for us to actually have that, we have to actually walk a mile in somebody's shoes. And then we're actually in that mindset of going, hey, I actually grasped what you went through. So I think that's really where you add in the mix. It does look pretty positive. And I do think this is actually shifting your whole path. Good luck. I wish you the best. It doesn't look bad at all. It does look a lot. And just take time where you need to, chime in with the members and you have a chat to them if you're needing to offload, and have your support network there, so that your life doesn't have to go downhill, because it doesn't have to. I hope that helps. Freedom. You're just free. You're free. You're free. But I feel it's more being free in the authenticity of who you are, without feeling it's about you, if you know what I mean. It looks good, Dawn. Now, as to a potential of intimacy, I do see that there. So it might take you a bit by surprise. I'll just say that. Research. How you going, Dar? How you going? Oh, thanks. Thanks, Dawn. I hope that helps. How are we doing, Dawn? You will be fine. I like the kitchen, by the way. So hot. Dawn is the expert feminine renovator now. And she's brought being feminine into the hot zone. There's nothing more attractive than a female that can hold themselves. I'm telling you. Ask any male, they'll tell you. Oh, I don't need to babysit you. I love that. Okay, so we have research clue. And it looked great. She renovated her kitchen. I knew you could do it. I've been doing renovating for years. Look, I grew up, I did not want to do it. I would do anything I could in that Scorpio fashion to manipulate my father to get out of it. Because I wanted to be the princess in the castle cooking. Right? And he'd go, and the way to a man's heart is through their stomach. Is very true. It was with my father. And I would make him his favourite banana bread. And then he'd go, okay, now that you've finished that, you can go out in the garden or you can go grab those bricks and you can do this and that. And I'll go, how did I get myself into this? So I'd have double the work, not less. So in typical, Mercury retrograde and the Scorpio energy, it's like, I think it's important for us to get not short. If we're having to address something, do it right, do it correctly, do it above board, so you don't have to come back and revisit this, because we don't want to. Could even have some septic issues, septic tanks or sewage issues, oil spill. What have we got for you? Oh, look, you're going to be going for 3 years, Dawn, so don't stress. You got plenty of time. You're going to be tweaking it for years to come, but where you want it to be and how it's going to evolve, it will be over the next 3 years. But just keep going. You're ahead of the curve if you keep going. So we have Research clue. Okay, this energy can be quite psychic for you at this time. You can be very susceptible, also based on the Scorpio placements. You could have hunches intuitively. You could feel very nostalgic of the past, almost like a Venus retrograde for you, but in a very Mercury psychological sense. You might get an email. You might reconnect. You could bump into people. You could feel as though you walked through that door and it took you a lot of time and a lot of pain to move ahead, and now you feel you're moving backwards. I get that this can feel as though, am I ever going to be in a connection that feels conducive to me, that feels it's for me? They're showing that, yes, in the heart of it, you are going to have that. They're also showing in these cards to have the courage to look at all your partnerships, your destiny, where you're going. This is going to be quite a personal time for you, but I don't want you to fall off the rails. If you are wanting to go back to an old thing, there are portals and doors open, even if we feel there's going to be some difficulty with this. How do I describe this? Because I'm saying something quite intellectual here for you. In some ways, you're feeling people can't change. And then the thing is, when we have that feeling, what we need to understand is we need to look at a point we thought we'd never change. And then say to ourselves, okay, well, if I can change, there is a possibility other people can change. Sometimes through circumstances, through no choice, other times with choice. And chime into it when that comes in, but not to state in definite terms that things don't change, because things definitely are changing. Any trauma that you've had from things could crop up, especially if there were betrayals in your life. We have the Knight here. But again, they're saying that doesn't mean to say that what you're ushering into the future moving forward has to be the same. There can be some conflicts around mother. Again, I think if you just watch what the situation is, you could have a different outcome. But there can be some things that you're looking at. How would I describe it? You're wanting to keep everything above board. There also could be some gossip and information through the grapevine about maybe some changes happening in physical environments, in employment, and it feels like a binding document. This could be securing another job. This could be another party that is working, maybe being severed. I'm also seeing a flash torch with a manager. Now, before we go to your foundation, you could be tired. You might need a break. As to the Magician energy, you're going to get back into it. Things that were already going to come back to you. And, you would love to have the more freedom. And, it could be that you're looking at life and going, hey, in order to have that, it's cash. They're actually saying there's a different way around this ship. Because of what you are projecting for the qualities you admire and other qualities you both possess. And I think this card is coming back to what I said before. It's asking you to realize if circumstances of the past are coming back again, there is an ability to reconnect with that, and it doesn't have to be the same outcome. So don't get scared, assess, reconsider. Equally, so are the qualities you don't like are also your own reflection. And generally, sometimes when we have these extreme responses and we're trying to give somebody advice, for instance, it's generally we're pretty pissed at ourselves because we haven't done it ourselves. So do that, lead by example of checking in why we're having these extreme emotions, and then looking at, hey, maybe because we've already lived this, maybe because we, if there was a betrayal, if there was a hurt, we could say we'd never do X, Y, and Z, then find ourselves in those positions. So I would say some of this is going to resurface, especially based on the transits, and I know our chart's quite similar. But you are going to get into a balanced sense, and I do think there is going to be some balance that can resurface within an intimate connection. Love is not always about agreeing for the sake of it. A great relationship is one that always supports and challenges. And, the thing is, in a perfect world, I think my grandmother said this to me years ago. There will be people that bring the best out in you, and there are going to be people that bring the worst out in you, but it's still changed and it's still growth. So it did give us something. And I just get, especially from your cards, don't feel that you're being left out in the cold, that nothing's coming. Something is going to be resurface. And I think this is going to give you something that you truly, truly desire. So what was eliminated from your life was for a given reason at the time. What is coming in is going to be something that is more in alignment with the true you of who you are. And if, you know, sometimes we can think, hey, if this person resurfaced, what would I say? I think just be you. Just be truthful, how it made you feel, what it did to you. This could be anything down to you wanting to directly communicate and say something, and there could be this urgency emotionally that comes in. But I definitely see you putting your foot down with certain individuals. I think these are more key individuals that are in your life right now and wanting to have a redirection because you do want some change. Tweaking and changes of home are also very possible. Marie, we're up to you. This has been a longer than usual session, hasn't it? Anyway, Dawn, we always have more to do. I'm telling you, one leads to another. You know, even with garden design, have you ever noticed, those of you who are avid gardeners and you love gardening, when you do gardening, it's like it's like a painting. It takes on its own form. So you might put one object somewhere, it's for a given reason. It might be for shade, shelter, food, etc. And then, you know, a large component can have other things built around it, and it creates itself. We're in a very creative frequency right now. And we do need to have the balance really moving into 2026 between time on social media and in nature. And I think that's where a lot of the spiritual community is coming through, that we're going to start actually creating things where we can actually keep that balance. And I think that's the key. It's not about eliminating everything all or nothing. I think it's about finding that healthy balance between the two. So we have, right. Now, I can't remember what you wanted to know, Marie, but we'll check in. We'll see what comes through. Any messages about my twin flame connection? This can be a time in the retrograde that does bring things back from the past. Most definitely, especially in social media. But there are some key aspects we do need to be cautious about our temper. Okay? You've got to be careful with our temper. This could also just be something as simple as something they're dealing with and crap going down in their life and leading them in a direction they were supposed to be going. Sagittarius also can be to do with, you know, and I did say this, especially in the Twin Flame Collective, we can actually see that if a person's in a karmic relationship, this could be to do with looking in at the marriage and, you know, it could be court cases. It might be divorces. It might be moving abroad or moving more towards something that feels more authentic to them. So the cracks in the systems that weren't working, especially if you did see them during Juno retrograde. Okay, there can be a lot of people around you that you feel you haven't really trusted. But, you know, the funny thing is I do feel psychically that you are quite protected. I don't feel as though there is the energy around you in your aura that you are in danger, if that makes sense. I do feel you're quite protected. It could be something you're pondering. You might be feeling as though, you know, who do you really trust? Do you go into another connection? Is there a possibility of you actually being able to trust? I think it's important for us at the moment with particular placements to be cautious with keeping our cards close to our chest. You know, if we feel intuitively guided to be open, that's a different thing. But I think you are in this protective zone at the moment. It could be your intuition is wanting to do something, but you're thinking, no, I probably shouldn't do that right now. Is it a good time frame to do that? I want you to really trust your instincts. You felt, you know, you had come to terms with certain things with it, but I do think this person at the moment had put some kind of judgment on the back burner. And I think they're realizing that even though they may have done that, they do in their mind now kind of feel caught up in their head, and they know it's more psychological than physical. And they also know that the way in which they're leading their life, the way in which they've been handling things, it's just not manageable. And they do need to put down the systems, the techniques, and the things they're doing, because they're finding it's just not physically manageable. They may have changed some things, and now they could be feeling as though they're needing to go back to the table to reconsider, to relook at things. If there was some conflict, they're actually, it's almost like this reference point of a calm time, conflict, and now wanting to resolve some of that, but really looking at, okay, how can they actually resolve it? I think there's a bit of, what would the word be? Not reconsidering, remorse. I'm hearing the term remorse, but it's like, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that. But there was a timing associated to it. So it's like, although there is remorse associated, there's no point in that, if you know what I mean. They're kind of like, what do I do in the here and now to make that change? They have been actually thinking about you quite a bit. They want their life to change. They also have actually attracted people into their life that have been quite toxic at times. But some pattern that they're referencing, and it's more to do with maybe their personal patterns. They're feeling as though, and make sure to keep everything above board with this person right now, especially based on some of the energy coming through in the reading, because they have had people in the past that have manipulated them in very tactical ways. That's just not going to work with them during this. So be very careful about that. If you're wanting to say something, if you're wanting to do something, be very above board, because the reference point, all that they will register with is you are similar to a karmic. Does that make sense? But it's more the context of the transits. I do think they have had a very, very toxic experience, and I think this is the reference of a past person that was quite shady towards them. I feel this person's moving through that. I do feel this person does want to move towards you in a more authentic way. And look, there's a lot of temptation with you. They do have a lot of temptation around you. They're trying to work through this circumstance at the moment. There's a lot of chemistry off the Richter scale. But because they have had such a toxic, and it's almost like this could be the way they talk, or it might, there's swear words involved. Like, they don't have a high regard for this person. I'll tell you, they've been very deceitful. And if anything, it feels like they're already started that process. If you haven't had communication yet, there is a distinct possibility you could. Now, communication, especially in channeling twins, it can come through in a few ways. If you're open and receptive, it can come through in the 3D. If you're feeling their psychological blockages, it's going to come through just in your intuition. Okay, so you've got to be detached enough to go, whatever choice you need to make, whatever you need to do, you need to do. But it does really feel in 3 days. So this means like a physical conversation, maybe some contact. They're referencing previous communication, and this is the regret point that they're having. If you can be open, more than likely, if you start getting triggered in the next few weeks, and say you're moving through your day and it's going all good, and suddenly their energy pops up in you, and you're kind of like, they randomly come into your mind, and you're feeling this overwhelm of panic or anger, they're moving through that portal. But usually simultaneously, something on your side of the fence is happening where you've got to divorce a situation, end a situation, shift something. Sometimes we can psychologically not end those things. We know what they are. We know what they are, but we have not addressed them as yet. The thing is, you both will simultaneously go through it. So more than likely, you're about to address something major. You're about to be the full card in tarot and just throw caution to the wind and have faith and trust. That way you can move into your dream. And I think it's almost this revelation that in order for you to, sometimes it's like we feel this holding pattern. We're like, I've got to wait, I've got to wait, I've got to wait. When we take that leap and we're like, you know what, in order to be involved in that, I need to be completely free. I need to do X, Y, and Z. I think if you can be in that vibe and get that, you are physically there's a very magnetic connection here. This is something that you can't bind. It's a lifelong contract. So I think if you can really have the confidence in that and take that leap of faith and trust your instincts, I think both of you are moving through that portal right now. I hope that helps. And we have, who do we have next? Leo next. Last but not least, Leo next. How are you doing, my love? In your love life, you're going to have huge change arounds next year. Huge. Most welcome. Okay. We do have other super chats coming, so don't freak out, especially before Christmas and New Year's. Very true. We have another one already scheduled, so if you guys want to go and click the bell on that, you'll be able to join. I'll give you some updates at the end as well. There are no suitors. You are going to have so many coming through. You're going to be like, look, not necessarily. The first way it comes through generally is people just making these comment drops. After that, it just builds. Now, the nodes are going to shift. They're moving into your Venus house. And so anything down to love, body, contracts, wealth, changes that need to be made are going to be made. And it's going to be doing it in a different way. Because we're not on the North Node there. Pluto is retrograde, Pluto's gone direct. So if anything, it's the emotions you're working through, because without the emotions, especially with Chiron retrograde, you can't necessarily have those shifts. But upheaval definitely will happen in that, especially because there is this element of the Uranian energy. I would pay attention to Uranus moving out of Gemini and back into Taurus and going into its retrograde. That is where I feel you could also see some of those changes. Now, emotions. What do you got? Okay, you just feel you're cursed and you're like, where's my bounty? Where's my bounty, bitch? Do I just celebrate? I put a lot of energy into this. What have I got out of it? That's Pluto. Pluto's like, do something different. Don't do it the same way. You're gonna be forced to. You will be forced to transition, to let go of patterns, habits, emotions, feelings. Because it is Pluto, the Scorpio axis and the Mercury retrograde can have you going into those bad patterns, and it's asking you to review them, and it's asking you to do them in a different way. Now, where Mars is, we've got to look out for. Where am I? It is going to be in the house of Sagittarius. So I would say be careful around universities, be careful about projecting religion, be careful on at concerts. Like is because we're going to have Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and we're having Mars enter Sagittarius. Political buildings, universities, courthouses, submarines, boats, trucks, city centres. We also have the possibility of things popping off, and I can't really say the direct statement on social media. I'd get in trouble. So be careful, I would say, on what date would I mention? I would say when Mars is there, we can be very busy. Social media, we can have hacking on social media. So be careful with your travels. I think it's been happening. Yeah, well, a lot has been happening, hasn't it? And a lot of these things already started a while ago. But once Mars enters that zone, we do need to be careful around those areas, especially with our kids, exes, people we had a divorce with, for instance. We need to be careful around that. We need to be careful around siblings and projecting. Okay, let me see what's coming up for you. You're moving in and out. So what do I mean by that? This connection. Part of it does move to a very mature sense, and you're viewing the coin from a different angle, and then it's dipping down again. There is something, and I'm going to pull a chakra card for you, love, because I do think there's a bit of a spiritual blockage here. So I think that this can actually be impacting some of the ascension process, some of the intimate connection. But I think it's to do with the inner child. Look, like I said, the South Node will move into your zodiac sign, but you're spiritually going to change, and you're already being prepared for that. You're already going down the rabbit hole with that. Yeah, I'm almost getting the inner child energy. You got your throat chakra and your heart chakra, and that's getting moved through, which is Venus again. So it's your Venus organs. It's, your eating, your nutrition, your body directly can be impacted by that. So it's about being in awareness of what you're consuming. This can be content. It can be, how you travel, how you speak. You're working through those things. Sometimes I don't think it's that we shouldn't say things. I think it's in the way we're saying it. And I think if we can get our emotions intact, we can have that kind of unpacked in our mind, how we respond to it. It doesn't have to be that we don't get hurt, angry, sad, mad, but we're more than likely going to pause because we've psychologically unpacked it, and we're then going to be able to articulate to people around us how we're feeling. You have the Page of Swords in the past. There's some things that maybe you think have gone that are going to crop back up again. Yes, they can come into your dream state. They can come into the physical energy. You are in a sense of power, but in the heart of it, there is some ego involved with heart-related matters. Okay, this can be projection. This can be ego. This can be reality as well. So they're asking you to act maturely with it. They're also asking you to know that there can be even a small change can completely tilt the axis of things and move things forward. So grab onto the small things that can lead to big things. There could be, this person could come to your home. It does look like there's a potential. I do think that you're wanting them to be the leader. Then just by doing less, you will get more. But I think the more you may need to do is just the inner work in being sure about what you want, not guilty about what you need, especially if that's intimacy, the deed, etc. Just keep each time is a new step. It's a new, because there's a bit of a power dynamic going on here. Only because sometimes we have to be the masculine in our lives, and then we step in at the inappropriate time. We're really wanting that person to change, and they're not. So we need to know when to lower that masculine to actually state, hey, this is what I look for, a masculine, and then to not do the masculine's job. Does that make sense? Part of what you're asking for is this person to show up. You are missing them. You do have a lot of chemistry with them. They're saying it's okay to be standing out in the open saying what you need. I think you've already done that. They're actually showing now this is about what this person is going to do. and then gauging each step as you go. Because if there is to be conflict that does come into this situation, it's also showing that you'd probably have more faith if you saw steps, but because you don't know, you don't know. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're like, I want you to be the leader. That's what you're wanting. You're wanting this person to be the leader, but you're having less confidence in it because you're not in the Navman, okay? You're not in the Navman, and that's because you're going into your masculine energy. So again, remember, repeat after me. I am demanding that this person be masculine, but I can't take their masculine power over, which means don't be in control. So the chakra system that's getting kind of triggered is the masculine side of things with Mars, right? And so we could be like, well, I want to know what they're doing, how they're doing it. Are they doing it correctly? No, because we're just say to yourself, when you find yourself doing that, if you're wanting this person to do that, you do the masculine in your own life. So there's something maybe you're in avoidance of that you're not addressing, that you need to change, that you do have power and you can use your masculine energy on it, very separate to this romantic connection, and just self-focusing on that. And if you can do that, it's going to redirect it and it's going to actually bring some balance here, because they're asking you to have faith and there is a physical shift going on here. I do think this person behind the scenes actually does want to prove to you that they can actually change. You're going to have the faith that that's distinctly possible. And it's really weird. You'll probably find if you do actually have a chat to Dawn, which, is something that I've been coaching her with as well, the less she's doing, the more she's getting. And so it sounds counterproductive, but it is about the way in which we show up. The trigger and the motion, I do feel for you, actually does link to another subject. I also do feel this person does have kind of aspirations. This person does have a plan. At times they can be immature and they don't really want to do things, but for some reason I do feel they've actually got a new job. I hope that helps. As to intimacy, yes, you could be having intimate dreams, but I also feel your worry is if we go there, I'm making myself vulnerable. Only give what you're willing to give. And again, don't be scared by being actually open with your feelings of what you're actually wanting. But wait for the person to actually come through, and just don't be angry when they come through. Be very, very open. But they're saying there's going to be more opportunities to discuss actually what you're wanting and how you want those things to go. And I think that directly is going to be a very positive thing. Now, as to our energy updates, we have another one scheduled. If you do want to come and join it, I'll have the slides for it, hopefully. We are going to also, if time permits, schedule the new moons, full moons, transits moving ahead. As to what's going on with the website, huge upgrade. There are going to be events, webinars, membership links. We do have a membership that you directly can go to. The sign-up page. And as to the meditations, I did mention this, we are going to be hosting some meditation sessions on our event calendar. If you do visit the website, all the links are below. You can get them, as well as don't forget that if you do want to look for Sage in a Circle Network, any of our special offers, subscribing to Yildiz Readings 5J is going to give you a hand, because you directly will be in the know about what is coming up each time. So by clicking the bell, you'll be notified of our new content. Otherwise, I'll see you for the next update soon. Take care.